Hello, everyone. It's been a minute, but I'm back to host another Woman's Atheists UNLOAD here on Skeptic Haven. I am Rion, and today we are going to be talking about what a gender neutral society would look like. This is going to be interesting. Stick around, and I'll introduce you to our guest, Katy. Hey, Wes, will you push some buttons for me?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that.
Oh, that just always makes me want to bounce. Okay, welcome back, and thank you everyone for joining us. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you for being here with me today. I can't wait to talk to our guest, Katy Sykes. Hi there, Katy.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I miss this. I miss this channel a lot. I did a lot of work in the past on this channel, and it's a great channel. I like to see where it's gone.
I concur. It is a really, really good group of people. Every time I get to come on here, even just in the just being in the audience, I get to listen to other people's ideas and thoughts, and it really helps me. So I always want to be open-minded, since I kind of grew up not being open-minded. So talking about a gender neutral society, that is interesting, and I love to hear it. So I can't wait to discuss.
Yeah, so basically, a gender-neutral society is it's an idea that some social psychologists have been having recently on how to how to move forward as a society, given given some of the facts that have come to light in the past few decades. One being the emergence of the trans identities. And obviously the abuse and everything that us trans people get from society, and also the facts that are coming through from neurobiology now as well about how there isn't actually any difference in the brains of men and women. So apart from like trained identities. So the plasticity of the actual brain itself.
Wow. Yeah, I've learned a lot recently of just about in pregnancy, different hormones and things of that. Like, I still don't completely, know that much, but I understand now things that I had no idea was happening in our body. Thank goodness for science to at least now back it up.
Exactly. And a gender-neutral society, a lot of people have a lot of issues with the whole idea. They think it's a lot more extreme than it is. Like, we can't teach kids at all about men or about women or anything like that. We're just going to get rid of the genders. But that's not it at all. You can still teach all of those things, obviously, because they are facts. They are part of life. It's just about allowing children, not influencing children in any way as regards to their own identity, and bringing them up in a way so that they have full choice over who they are and what they're going to do with their lives.
Which seems to me kind of natural.
Yeah.
Does that sound
exactly.
weird? Does that sound weird that you should kind of, of course we can guide our children. That's what we're parents for, obviously, duh. But beyond that, don't we want them to be individuals? Isn't that not like our constitutional right? But isn't that like what we fight for? You'd think so. Sorry.
Yeah, it also makes sense on the strict point of view of science, because as Katy said, in the last couple of decades, I was going to say learned, but actually we relearned that gender and sex are two different things, and both are on a spectrum. That uh, we've been known for a while that um, biological sex is not really entirely binary, because we know there are a lot of variations on every step of the way, and we also know now that, as Katie says, um, regarding gender, we see that on average, uh, trans people have um, the sexual dimorphism characteristic of the brain of a woman, and vice versa. So yeah, we know that it's not binary. So as humans, we tend to need to put labels on things, because it makes us easy to not only to teach them, but to manipulate them in our discussions, in our thought processes, in everything. So
And to sell people stuff.
yeah, that too. But in this case, having a label that's located in the middle instead of having two that push away part of the people, it actually makes sense.
It's more inclusive, in my
Yes,
opinion. Would it not
it's
be?
it,
Yeah.
it is inclusive, but even if we don't want to go that way, depending on who we are talking to, uh, we can just talk about the science behind it, and justify it just with the science behind it, and that would be enough. That should be enough.
Right.
And of course, it doesn't just benefit a gender-neutral society. It doesn't just benefit trans people and gender non-binary people. It also benefits cisgendered people as well, especially with in terms of equality. So one of the in some of the studies that I've been looking at, it's been shown that men have as children up to the around about the age 7, boys have a much overestimated um, uh, idea of their own abilities, whereas girls have a majorly underestimated idea of
Wow.
their own abilities. And the studies also showed the reason why that is, and it's the influences that parents, school teachers are giving to these children. Over the years, it's building up that boys are strong, girls are cute, and
Yeah.
that's all that's being taught to them as far as gender in the early years.
And
So
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm just adding to what you said. On top of that, we also know that children at the same age, when they are looking for a source of information, they tend to go to men instead of women.
exactly, and it's a problem throughout our whole society at the moment. And if you want true equality for all genders, then in my opinion, gender neutrality is a very good way. Might not be the only way, but it's a very, very good way of actually getting to that place. Because if you start when children are young, to put together a society in which equality is key, then when those generations grow up and become adults, um, then they'll have true equality, because there won't be any of these stigmas and ideas related to different genders.
Yeah,
You
and
go ahead.
yeah, there's still a long way to go. I would say in the U.S. because of the political climate. Because like last weekend on one of the ACA shows, the calling shows, one guy called and he was adamant that uh, men were smarter than women, that
Mm.
women were more emotional, and those kind of things. And he truly believed it, and not because he didn't seem to feel superior. He just believed it because that's what he was taught, and uh, that was biology for him. So
But that
yeah.
makes sense, though, given if you think about gender identity. Well, not so much the gender identity, the gender stereotypes. If you think of those as being learned behaviours that over many years from a very young age have slowly been built up by society, telling children and telling teenagers exactly what a boy does, exactly what a girl does, what traits that the boys have, what traits that the girls have, then it sort of makes sense why people just have these in-depth ideas when they're adults about the way things are and the way things that
Mm,
have to be. They may not even realize that why it is that they feel that way.
yep.
To them, it just seems completely natural, but that's because it's a learnt behavior.
It's been fed to them. It's like indoctrination,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Anyhow, I just wanted to say that I one time had this guy throw this study. It was weird. He threw this study in my face and said that women are more emotional than men. And I was like, oh, great. Let me go read this study. Okay. So read this study. Women are more emotionally articulate. We're not more emotional than, we're just more able to articulate the emotions that we have. Instead, unfortunately, we've trained men to repress, and which I think reflects in our society that they're very angry.
Oh,
They're
yes.
very angry,
Yeah.
narcissistic, self-centered. I'm not that women aren't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a great big bunch of big babies out there.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
study reflected it actually. So
yeah.
that was kind of funny that he was wrong, but it wasn't surprising.
Well, one of the studies I was looking at was done in the UK, and it was done with the different groups of 7-year-old school children. And they actually covered this point about emotions by taking the children through certain tests to test their what emotions they resonate with, what they're able to describe for emotions. And it turned out that girls were able to basically describe all of the emotions really well, and articulate those emotions extremely well. But the boys, all of the boys, could not talk about any emotion other than anger. They had no idea what happiness was, what sadness was, what any of these emotions were. They just knew anger, which is very, very worrying when
That is
children as young as
scary.
7
And
can only
sad.
describe anger.
It's very sad
Yeah,
Yeah, how
exactly.
sad for
also.
the child. They're being robbed of their childhood, which is really sad. And it's bad for society, of course, because these people are going to be adults
And they will vote.
and they will vote.
And the
Yes.
and the only emotion that will drive them to vote is fear or anger. And that's how you get the far right wave we were having in the entire West.
Yes. And the rhetoric is just so hateful that it's imbuing people with this ability, this emboldening to just be so public and out with it and be violent with it. And violence is just,
But
I don't,
in
it's, sorry,
in
I
in
don't
in,
care.
in, a, in a way, it's just the continuation of what we were just talking about, because when the only emotion that you recognize is anger, then you're, as humans, we need to feel emotions. So if this is the only one you know, then you will live your life in a way that will only trigger this specific emotion,
Yeah.
and you will move towards ideas that that trigger this specific emotion into you. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
And then when you've also built your society as well to say that, men know more than women, men are more intelligent than women, men are stronger than women, men are better than women. And then you've got that group that you're putting up on a pedestal is only being taught anger, then it makes the situation a lot more worse.
And we're only objects. We're possessions. We're just seen as something to own, not something to have their own autonomy.
And you can never have true equality in a society like that that's teaching those things. So you need to get down to the source of the issue, which seems to be just going back as young as possible, and what we're actually teaching our children at a young age, going back to that point and trying a new way to see if that works. And one of the ideas on the table is gender neutrality.
Yeah, I agree. I just see so much pushback. I mean, we're struggling just to get CRT in our schools. Oh, there's so many layers. I mean, but ideally, talking about what could be.
Oh yeah, I mean, this idea is just a hypothetical at the moment.
Right.
It would take a lot of legislation to be able to put that through. Yeah.
Right. CRT would be a good start.
I mean, the politics in this country and over in the UK isn't much better at the moment. We're pushing towards nationalisation again and far-right politics, which is just so hurtful. I know it's been going on in the US for quite a long time now. Doesn't seem like it's going to get better anytime soon.
No, but it can if we don't sink into the darkness and just let them have at it, because that's ultimately what they want. So it just takes people like us talking about the ideas, educating about the ideas, why it's important. And I am a very hopeful and optimistic person, maybe to my own detriment, but I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with being hopeful and optimistic.
Right. So, we have a question. Do you want to read that, Cindy?
Yeah. What do you mean exactly by gender neutrality society? What does that mean when it comes to dealing with children? For example, as you were talking about, little confused still what it is. So, Katie, do you want to answer?
Yeah, so gender neutrality is, as I said in the beginning, it's not about teaching people that there is no gender. It's about teaching people that they don't have to be any particular gender, and it's about creating also a society in which there isn't any separation between the two genders. So so from a very young age, you use all the same amenities, you're taught the same things, you're taught the same stereotypes, you're taught boys and girls are taught exactly the same as each other, and they live exactly the same as each other, and it's about drawing on the similarities between the two genders that we have now and any other genders. It's about drawing on all the similarities between everybody and not drawing on these differences that we seem to have done in a binary world.
Yeah, you're right.
I hope that answers the question.
Wes, you can let us know if that helped, but I think that would sound pretty good to me. I wanted to ask, do we have any societies current day that you think are kind of there, or at least moving more towards of a gender neutral society?
Yeah, so there's some interesting changes happening in Sweden, Norway.
I figured.
Yeah.
I figured as much.
There's quite a lot of changes happening there, especially towards gender neutrality. I wouldn't say it's state level at the moment over there, but there is a lot of families which are pushing towards this, and they seem to be having great success with it.
That's awesome. They're always on my news feeds. I'm sorry, I'm always on TikTok, y'all. I'm sure you know that. But well, first, because I'm an ex Jehovah's Witness, and Norway is kind of battling with the Jehovah's Witnesses for a lot of their policies, abuse policies that harm children. And so like I just kind of watch them with awe, and now even like they're standing up and shouting at the UN about what's happening in Iran to make sure we're supporting. Like they're just, I just always hear their voices first, and it just gives me so much hope that like there are societies out there who are doing it. It's possible, y'all. We can get there. We could do this.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful with these cults. I mean, they've got a lot of money, especially Jehovah's Witnesses. Got a lot of money, a lot of backing, and they will push for their ideas wherever wherever they go. I mean, I'm an ex-JW myself, and
stop it.
No, that's my channel, Bog Skeptic. That's what I started doing, was ex-Jehovah's Witness cult content. So
I feel like crying. I gotta wait. Tell me this again. I need to make sure I write this down exactly right now.
Bog Skeptic was my channel.
Awesome. So you probably know all about that case and whatnot, and you probably know what's happening in Spain right now, that they're suing.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with it as much as I needed to in the past few this year, at least. Anyway, so I'll have to double check on some of those. But
yeah, a lot happening. But so you know obviously what it's like to grow up in especially they like to separate men from women. I mean, that is like their whole thing. We need to be in subjugation to them. We don't even have authority to pray in front of them unless we put a head covering on, in which that's like a rarity.
I've got a unique position on it as well, because with myself being a trans woman, I actually grew up on the male side when I was in Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was forced to do a lot of all of the male stuff. I was running, prayer groups and things, and the ministry and stuff, and I was ministerial servant, and I was giving speeches from the platform and stuff, and so I could see how the subjugation worked a little bit more in depth, and it and also the effects that it has on you as well. So the way that they build up the subjugation of women and the power structure for men is it breeds narcissism within the men that are given those positions. Because you're always looking for that next bit of praise. You're always looking for that next bit of subjugation to to what you're saying and stuff. And eventually that starts to build up into a condition, narcissistic disorder.
Makes you feel important when everybody's coming to you, just this normal person that, no offense to anyone, just this normal dude who washes windows during the day, but at nighttime, he's the go-to guy. If you have questions about the Bible, if you needed to talk to somebody about something, the gossip and things of that nature, you're right, it gives them some kind of complex. And
like the whole thing of this woman's going to pray while the brother's actually there, pray for the group, then she has to put a towel on her head. It's ridiculous. Absolutely
it doesn't
ridiculous.
Make any sense. No, but it's just to signify you're not quite us. You're kind of human, but you're not quite. You're almost there. Yeah. But again, it's a conditioning. We grow up. I have so many realizations now that I've left. Like today, I just had one before the show. I was like crying about it, but that there's just so much about myself that I don't know, because I was so confined to that black and white, JW society. And regardless of when you leave, you take it with you. And I didn't realize, just even though I wasn't necessarily there for all that period of time, I'm still carrying these ideas with me. And so much of it is just, it's Christian, it's colonization. It's just it's not a mindset that we used to have in ancient days. I mean, we have proof in ancient texts that we had societies where we had people who cross-dressed, who were the other sex. Gods could transform people into the other sex. So this was common, and these people were given high positions of power. And now today we ostracize people for something that's natural, and now we have the science to back that up. Sorry, I didn't mean to just go on like a rant there.
It's okay. Completely understandable.
But it's good to be able to get outside that and talk to people who have other experiences that I don't have. And I would never get to do this if it weren't for the good old internets. So it is a beautiful thing that can give us so much information. But there's a lot of bad stuff out there too, which we have to be wary of.
Well, I think that definitely we should keep in touch, with me and you with being XJWs and that.
Absolutely, I'd love to
keep in touch.
Yeah,
I'd like to answer that question. I think we're talking about two different things: gender identity and the type of relationship you can be in. That's two entirely different topics. But I can see that as a side effect to the discussion, because if you remove those very strong gender roles that currently exist, like men are the money bringer of the family, and the woman stays at home, and if you remove those outdated ideas, then it becomes easier to accept polyamory, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. There is, it's two different topics. Firstly, I mean, one's talking about sexuality, the other's talking about gender. So it's two very different things. But yeah, I mean, polyamory, it may become a more widely accepted thing under a gender neutral society. I wouldn't say the society itself, though, would be favouring one over the other. I mean, it still comes down to personal choice, personal attraction, and obviously. So, but personally, I don't see what's wrong with polyamory. I know there's a lot of people who have a problem with it and stuff, so it's unnatural and things. But no, polyamory is quite natural, I would say. Looking throughout history, especially. It seems to have been the norm over for a lot of our history.
Yeah. So when people say things like natural, I'm like, well, when you mean natural, like how far back you going? Like we've really got to think outside the box here from what we've been taught for the past several, 1,000 years, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think those two topics have anything to do with them. I mean, history and nature. What is natural has nothing to do with what we've done in the past. What is natural is we talked earlier about gender identity and gender dimorphism. So we know that nature doesn't create carbon copies of things. We know that in everything it does, nature has a variability. So there is no reason why, in terms of the number of people you can fall in love with at the same time, that there can be one or two or three. There's naturally, and I use that word on purpose, naturally there is no reason why this couldn't exist. And if it does exist, then um, ultimately, and in the best case scenario, then the society would adjust to it and allow it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I
I
completely
think
agree with that.
I think also simply just teaching people to be more acceptable and less judgmental. Like, hey, I don't understand everything. I don't always understand how electricity works. Like, there's things that maybe I just don't understand, but it's there. It's good. I'm fine. Like, it's not. Maybe it's just not for you. But we accept. We love people. We treat people as as they deserve, and keep it pressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why people would have a problem with polyamory. I mean, it's it's a group of consensual adults who aren't you, so why would you have a problem with it?
Right.
It's
I.
Yeah,
It's not my. It's not my life. It's not my
yeah,
life to live.
nobody
But
forces you to be in one of those relationship. If you don't want to, then you just say
right.
no. That's all.
Right.
That just like when someone you don't like asks you out, you just say no, and that's it. You move on.
Hmm. I watch people like TikTok. Oh my God, how many times can this woman say TikTok? But I follow people on TikTok just because I'm interested in, seeing how they work through it. And it works, seems to work for them. Of course, everybody, like, no relationship is perfect, like, ever, like, hello. But it's just interesting. Was there a question?
I,
Did
I
I miss it?
think I just answered it.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was if anybody in the audience has any questions, please feel free to put them up on the screen. We're happy to take questions. Thank you. They're making fun of me in the the audience. Sorry.
Um, yeah, someone asks if you have a TikTok account. Obviously, you have one.
How,
Um,
how would anybody know? But but that again, TikTok it's been really helpful to me because I've been able to see it puts the humanity into things, when you get to hear people's stories, which I'm like, I really enjoy that because uh, in a very like restricted society, like high control religion, you don't get other people's perspective and you don't necessarily maybe see their struggles in life. You don't realize that maybe you've been treated better than they have, or whatever it might be. And now we're getting to see this like live, like right away, and see how, what's happening with within our government here in the US and in your country and whatnot, and everywhere it seems like is facing it right now. What's happening because we've got these oppressive groups with so much control and able to wield their power and their money with the
and
government.
I'm going to answer Logan's question, but first I want to come back to what you just said because I understand that people can have ideas and beliefs. Um, for example, I am, and I've said so a couple of times on my show, I am fiercely anti-drugs, all of them, and yet I would vote to legalize cannabis because the benefits outweigh largely the negative effects in this special case. And if I had to pick up a model um, to manage drugs instead of the US or France, I would take Portugal. They legalized everything. So you never go to jail for possession of any drugs. You can find all of them in some dispensaries where you can find clean needles and etc.
Mm,
And they have one of the lowest numbers in terms of use and in terms of deaths. And the reason why is that because uh, so you have this government policy, and at the same time you have the local organizations that instead of separating people who use drugs aside from society, they try the other way. They try to put them back into society because we now know that one of the main causes of addictions in general is loneliness
Oh, wow.
and or the lack of human connections to society in general. So they try to rebuild connections with families, with friends for those drug addicts, and then they in the long term they don't need to use drugs anymore. That's how they lower the numbers. So you can be against something for yourself, but you can also look at the bigger picture and what's more beneficial for society and decide on this. And that was my point. You don't need to impose your beliefs just because they are your beliefs. You can have your beliefs, but then you should be smart enough to recognize um, whether or not what you believe is positive for society or not, based on facts and not just your beliefs. So
Yes. Facts.
yeah, the uh, the the question from Logan: how do you think social media has affected the fight for equality? Good, bad? Katie, what would you say?
I don't really spend a lot of time on social media, so I don't really have a lot of experience with it. But I would say overall, from the little experience I have had, um, social media seems to have made the situation a bit worse. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's you've got there's just a lot of anger online. And you just come across this hatred all of the time. Whereas some of these people, you might not have got the hatred if you were talking to them in real life because you were face to face with them. But it's just social media seems to give people that separation that they need to be able to
Mm-hmm.
release their full anger at everybody.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's opinion when they're not an expert is important. And I tell people like your opinion is important. I'm like, but when again you have no education on the subject, you have no meat in the game. What why do you need to voice your opinion of hate? Suck an
Yeah,
egg.
Yeah,
exactly.
there's
Especially if your opinion goes against what the experts are saying, but
Right.
it's still right because it's their opinion. That makes no sense.
Right. So just stop looking stupid, please.
yeah, there's a big difference between you have an opinion, you have the right to voice your opinion, and then when you voice your opinion, then it's no longer immune to criticism. And people don't understand the differences between all this. So yeah, you can have an opinion on whatever topic that may be, but the second you voice your opinion, then you cannot expect people to criticize it.
Right. And give you facts, again, facts
Yes,
about
yeah,
why you should just shut up and eat your words because you
yeah.
look stupid. Thank you
Uh,
so much, Jamie. Great
yeah,
topic.
thanks.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely. This is a great topic.
And
There was
I want
another
to
question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to finish answering the question because there are some positive sides because you can create private groups based on some specific denomination or specific like you can join private groups for trans people, for queer people, for LGBTQ people, and and that helps give the sense of community we were talking about earlier. So it can have some positive effect. It can um, give a voice to people like me, for example. 2 years ago, I didn't exist pretty much. Now I have a YouTube channel. I'm present on other YouTube channels, and I can voice my opinion. So
Right.
it's not all bad. Uh, I think we should be um, acknowledging the fact that yeah, it can give people some say space and voice when they want to express it.
Right. And the question you're referring to, Katie, what
It
whose was it?
was
I'm sorry.
Cat the Humanist.
Oh,
I
Kat
thought
the
she had a really
Humanist.
good question there. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so why do you think some male gender people feel so threatened by people who are not a traditional male gender? Oh, that's a really good question, Kat. I'd like to know the answer to that.
It's also a question which I gave a lot of thought to over the years as well. And I did a bit of research behind and things. Did a few social experiments. Taking data from people around the streets and interactions that I had with people and stuff. And I don't think that traditionally male gendered people are actually threatened at all by those of us who aren't traditionally male. Um, and
They're insulted.
yeah, no, I don't think they really have a lot of idea about what they actually feel themselves. And I think this goes back to what we mentioned earlier about men find it very hard to express emotion other than anger.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they actually have an idea of how they feel about it, but they have this really large pack group mentality. So it all
Yes.
starts when they're part of a group, and say a trans woman like myself walks down the street, then they'll start throwing abuse and laughter and hatred over to big themselves up in front of the mates and that. And then obviously later on in private, they might have a difference of opinion to that, or they might just carry that on because that's all they know. So I don't think that men particularly have a problem with it. Where I've got most of my hatred and most of my abuse is from women, in fact, who have very staunch
Mm,
ideas about what a woman is and who can be a woman and why I am not a woman.
right.
And they'll get a lot more aggressive and a lot more hurtful towards me than what any man ever would.
Mm. Yeah, they're taught to protect the patriarchy. Thank you, Logan. They're absolutely taught to claw people's eyes out for their man, the patriarchy.
I've seen a lot of disdain from men who I would say respect in some way the classic gender role of men, and not only the role but the appearance and everything like that towards men who don't look like them. Like if you even today, if you listen to conservative men talking about men who are on a gay parade, for example, you will hear a lot of mockery, a lot of superiority. So, yeah, I think there's still that quite a lot in our societies. Um, but I don't think they feel threatened. I think it's the opposite. I think they still feel superior to them.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot in there, a lot of different emotions, but absolutely. I wish I could understand the necessity to have to differentiate and to judge people. Like, why does that just seem so natural to have a feeling a need to act on it, like to behave in a manner they do. That's just, and it's not, and it seems natural.
Yeah.
Like you say, the
Yeah.
pack mentality.
Yeah, and I mean that pack mentality can lead to some really dangerous things as well, especially when women get involved in it as well. So because then the men are trying to uh, look even bigger in front of in front of the woman. I mean, I used to live in a place I used to live. There was a council estate which was near me, and there was this group of girls which were always surrounded by this group of lads, and I'd get verbal abuse pretty much on a daily basis. They'll pass me on the street, just spit in my face and things like that. Just the normal stuff.
Oh my
But
God.
eventually, it led
Mm-mm.
to them
Sorry.
actually bombing my house. They put a
The
bomb through my
fuck?
letterbox and blew up my front room. Yeah.
Oh my
All because
God.
it just escalated.
I'm
They were
so
trying to
sorry.
do things bigger and bigger. Well, it's just part of normal life for a trans person, but that's
Yeah,
you get used to it.
that's just utterly pathetic. Cowards. I don't understand how that to them seems manly when it's so cowardly. Like what pussies. It's so interesting. Okay, so we're at I just realized we're at the 45-minute mark. And so if there's any questions in the audience, please get them in. I do have a question myself. I hope that
Mhm.
that's all right. How do you think, or do you have an opinion on if gender neutrality in the workplace could be positive, like how there could be positives for people in the workplace if we had a more like gender neutral society?
Well, I think this is where you'd see the most positives out of gender neutrality.
Mm,
The workplace, a lot of work has been done in the on this topic in the in the past, in equality, but we're still a long way off from having true equality, especially in the workplace, where women are usually taking up all of the lower paid jobs predominantly, and men are still taking all of the higher paid jobs. I mean, you look at some of the statistics on this, and it's appalling even today. How little power women have at the top in CEO positions and things like that, and managerial positions. Um,
mhm,
Whereas if you had gender neutrality as your natural state of society, then you're not looking at the differences. You're looking at the similarities between people. So there's no incentive to award the job to a man over a woman
to
simply based
differentiate,
on the gender. Yeah.
right? And we are so far. I haven't looked at it recently. I probably saw TikTok on it about like the pay gap between genders. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at my silliness, but I mean that's really serious. It's pathetic. And then plus we have the pink tax. I mean, there's just so many things that come along with being a woman, beauty product. I mean, God, you'd have no idea until you realize like what comes out of your pocket just to live, just to look okay and smell okay to go to work.
Yeah, I know. I spent 150 quid last month just on products. It was ridiculous.
Right, right, exactly. Shampoo and makeup and laundry and nails and da. Okay, so Skeptic Haven says, what are some places and ways to start doing this, and is there things that we can do to help move things along? Excellent question.
So I think the first place to start is in school. Schools can take a massive role in starting this process off. From a young age, nursery and early primary school, or whatever the grading system is over in the USA. I'm not up on all that, but yeah, the young age from like 3 to 7, 8 year old sort of thing. And yeah, the schools can do a lot of work there to instill some of these neutral qualities. And it can be simple things like not separating the boys and girls for anything in the school. So not separating them for in the class, sitting at a girl table and a boy table. Not in using any terms of endearment when speaking to children, like love and mate and things like that. And also, just having not separating the type of schooling that you're giving them. So making sure that girls and boys both have training and games and stuff provided to increase the spatial awareness, which is something which predominantly girls aren't as good at, usually because of the toys and that they played with when they're younger.
There's that
So,
conditioning.
yeah. So schools can do a lot in that as well. And also parents. I mean, if parents, decide to go down a more gender neutral route, then it's something that's very easy for them to do. And it's something that can have one of the biggest impacts towards making gender neutrality a real thing.
Awesome. Is there any final thoughts that anybody wanted to bring up? I want to make sure that I know that you had a chart. I wasn't sure if you wanted to bring that up at all, Sydney. Wasn't sure.
No, I just wanted to prepare it in case we needed it, but
Okay.
I've showed it already a couple of times on this show, so it's fine. No, I think one way we could help with that is in direct actions. Instead of trying to, not instead, but in addition to trying to make or to teach gender neutral identity, we can also deconstruct gender roles, because we are in a generation where, even though we teach the kids gender neutrality, they will still see classic gender roles in movies, in their parents' actions, and everywhere around. So teaching them how to deconstruct them and why they are harmful to the society and to the persons involved, that would be a great help. And not just say, hey, that's how things are, explain why, and why the current situation is not good.
Thank you. Is there anything that you're working on, Katie, that you would like any future projects you want to talk about? Want to make sure that we get all your socials and media information out there too.
At the moment, I'm not working on my own channel at the moment. I'm working with Joshua Void over on Atheist Uprising as a co-host over there with him. So
write that down too.
I can plug that. That'd be great.
So Atheist Uprising. Do we have that, Wes? Like a link, or that we can at least put in that? We can always put a link, all your links in the bio, but I wasn't sure if they got this beforehand. Sorry. But yeah, we can make sure we take care of that for you too. Or if you have the link, we can probably throw it into the audience if you'd like also.
I'm not sure I have the link at the moment, but
that we'll put it in the info afterwards. No worries. No worries. Thank you, Dan D.
Thanks, Dan D.
Keeping us informed. Thanks, Dan. You're the best. Sugar Daddy Dan. Oh my goodness. No, this was a really good conversation. I appreciate hearing your ideas, and I do think that like Dan D said, gender reveal parties, I know people love those things. I think they're so dumb. Sorry. Yeah. I just think they're so stupid. Don't invite me to one. I won't come. I'm sorry. It's just not my thing. I said it.
Before we leave, I just wanted to plug that I will be on the nonprofit next weekend,
Yes. Okay.
and I'm also working on a writing to explain why I change from talking about critical thinking to rational thinking. Maybe we can one day make an episode about this and explain the difference and what it entails. I spoke about it
Yeah.
once on my channel, but yeah, it could be an interesting topic.
Absolutely, because I'm sure Katie, well, maybe not Katie, maybe not, but critical thinking is something that I'm still learning how to do because I was just in such like circular thought loops and whatnot. So, obviously I'm a functioning adult human being, but you still run into these things. You're like, oh my goodness, boy, my brain is it's wired a little different. So I would love to hear what the difference between critical and rational. I don't know. Yeah, so maybe we should do that, Wes. Get that on the books, Mr. Wes. Thank you. All right, and I don't think we had any more questions. Is there anything else you all want to get out there before we? Oh, I guess I could say I obviously, surprise, surprise, I have a TikTok. I have a YouTube. My YouTube is
Really? You
as
haven't
my
mentioned that yet.
It's a problem. It's a problem. And also, Tax the Churches is my name on TikTok, but Rion Cultastic is my YouTube. Should we call it a show? I think this was great. I enjoyed this discussion. I appreciate this.
I really enjoyed it as well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Thank the Patreons before
Would
we leave.
Would you like to thank them? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I would like to thank everyone in the chat, everyone who is watching or who will watch the show in the future. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support. We are still progressing in terms of subs, and that's great. We love the new people that are coming every day, every week. So we have, I think it's 7 Patreon. It's Michael Wiseman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Deborah Grace, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, Phil Calderone. Thank you for your support. Thanks also to the producers. Currently, I think it's Wes, and I think that's all. But all the producers,
Kat, maybe?
thank you very much. Yeah, probably Kat as well. Yeah, thank you very much.
Everybody backstage. Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, we're not.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because